Hi, welcome to Enter the Bunker, where we launch you into thriving. Each week we talk about a different virtue that can be used as a building brick to build your own personal bunkers. We share personal stories, as well as tips and tricks to help you thrive instead of survive. So sit down, relax, and enter the bunker.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to part 2 of Joyfulness with Enter the Bunker. For this week's Building Brick, I'm Kelly.
And I'm Jonathan.
And we're going to go over how to add more joy to your life. So there is 3 different things here. I'll list them all, and then we will go over them in detail a little bit for each one. The first one is make a personal joy list. Ooh. 2, spend more time with joyful people. And 3, keep it simple.
Sounds good enough.
I like the joy list. I'm excited to go over this.
Okay.
All right, so make a personal joy list. You can help bring your joyfulness level up by being reminded of what brings you joy. Things deeply rooted inside you will be triggered by the reminder. Write a list of what brings you joy, feelings, experiences, people. Add it to it. When something ceases to bring you joy, remove it. Consult it often and make sure to make time to do more things that bring you joy. Make a joyful list.
Do you think you can do that?
Honestly, I think making the list would bring me joy.
Wow. There you go.
I don't know about y'all, but I love lists, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it makes sense. So you make a list of the things that bring you joy.
Yeah.
I think that would be actually be a really good exercise just in terms of just having some introspect about
what brings you joy.
Knowing yourself better.
Yeah.
And then just look at how much of that is actually a part of your life. And then, like you said, in the list, just make it more a part of your day.
Yeah. And the stuff that, it mentions review it often. So maybe once a week, just go over it. And if something you're like, well, that didn't bring me joy, be gone with it.
Yeah. I think that just generally speaking, in terms of every week having a day to rest.
Yeah.
Right. It's very common in a lot of cultures. There's a Sabbath day and there's things like that. Mm-hmm. And so generally just having a single day where we can rest, I think this is a great time to actually reassess a joy list. So
yeah, that's perfect.
You take that day and you look at how it went the past week, and it's just okay, well, these things aren't working for me anymore. I'm just going to let these go and then just do it on a week-to-week basis. It's really easy.
I think that would be a great exercise for anybody, like you said, to get to know themselves better. Because I bet that people deal with a lot of BS in the run of a day or week, that they just deal with it and it's not bringing them joy at all when they could just eliminate it and have a better life.
They just take that day to actually reassess.
Yeah.
Makes
Or even you realize something's not bringing you joy. Maybe you don't need to eliminate it, but maybe you just need to find a way to do it different or better, or do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Evaluate taking that day.
That's all it is.
All right. Number 2 is spend more time with joyful people. Joy spreads joy. Negativity spreads negativity. Have you ever spent time with someone who is always negative or unhappy? It brought you down, didn't it? Wah, wah. The moods and energies of those around us can have a huge influence on our own moods. This is why it is important to try and associate more with joyful people. This will allow your own joy to grow, greatly improving your life. However, don't completely cut out the negative people. Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. They could use being lifted, so don't be afraid to try and spread your joy. Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so in the last episode when I talked about this, I was saying, how you're going to stay away from people that are downers, right? And these people tend to be pushed away.
Yeah.
So you do have to have some compassion, and you have to, allow yourself to try to bring joy, or to try to express joy, so that they could actually help them a little. Mm-hmm. But you don't do that at the expense of your own joy, right? To the point where you are now in a situation where it's like a a vampire relationship, right? Where they're just sucking, they're sucking everything out of you and just leaving you lifeless.
Yeah.
And that happens to a lot of people. They think that by putting themselves in that position, that they're sacrificing themselves so that they can bring joy to somebody else, that somehow that's virtuous.
Yeah.
Truth is that you're actually just you're actually enabling them to live a broken life. Right. And so you need to be able to have a certain sense of, okay, there's my own joy, and I have to maintain that. I have to stay away from people who are going to be like vampires in my life.
Yeah.
Right. And just not allow them to be able to suck that out of me. And we all have that person, everybody's had that friend or that, that relative who is just that person who's just, they just are a downer all the time.
They're a vampire.
They're vampires. Yeah. And so we need to be able to identify that and take that day, and just like identify like who are these people in your life that are actually sucking the joy out of your life.
Yeah.
And just move them away. Like you have to limit your exposure to them.
Right.
And not allow them to be able to like just, let them have a nibble, but don't let them like suck you dry. As vampires.
Yeah, actually that is good, because also I feel like sometimes so there's depression and anxiety, and somebody could be going through, say, depression, but it doesn't mean they're not joyful, because they still could be So I guess what I'm saying is, when you're reflecting, really take time with yourself, because if you're going through, say, a depression phase, or I don't know if that's bad terminology, if you're going through depression, and it's just going to last, you're going to get over it, you might just need to cut that negative person out for the time being, and then go back to it and try to, like you said, give them a little nibble.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's good. Okay, number 3 is keep it simple. It is important to take the time to allow yourself to enjoy things. It is your life. If your life is just a hurried race from one thing to another, you'll miss out on all the little things that contribute to your joyfulness. The smell of fresh cut grass, a baby giggling, birds chirping, tweet, 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 tweet. Quiet reflection. Take time to be present and experience whatever it is that brings you joy.
Yes. So
did you like the acronym?
That's very good. So I think that, I think there's definitely a lot to be said for, just keeping it simple and taking the joy in all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I have a very rambunctious son who loves to be mischievous.
Yeah.
Loves it. Like, he lives for it. Okay. And of course, for us as parents, it makes everything difficult.
Yes.
Like, super difficult.
Yeah.
So then there's like, for example, even when when I'm going to get him from preschool or something like that, he loves to go running off and knowing that I'm going to have to chase him in order to be able to. And the whole time he's doing this, he's laughing so hard because he knows that he's doing something that's supposed to annoy me, right?
Yeah.
But meanwhile, do you know what's happening as that's happening? Like, I'm actually laughing.
Because
right? And then guess what's happening? Like, all the moms that are also picking up their kids are all watching us and laughing too.
Yeah.
Right? So even though he thinks he's being mischievous and he's being trouble, like I've learned to like take it as something to have fun, right?
Yeah.
Rather than being annoyed. Like a couple of times, like it was just like, it was so annoying. Like, come on, we gotta go.
Well, if you're in a rush and stuff,
Yeah, exactly. But then rather than doing that, it's just like, okay, like, let's have fun. Let's run a little bit.
Take a minute and
enjoy
to just
do it.
That toddler laugh.
Yeah.
Like,
and then of course you get into it, and I'm like, I'm gonna get you.
Yeah.
And all this kind of stuff, and then that just becomes fun.
Yeah.
And it's just that's part of the joy.
Yeah.
So there's a choice to be had there. For some people, they just wouldn't even tolerate it for a second, and then just get frustrated and annoyed, and then start, the whole thing. I can understand that.
Yeah.
And
do you think it's good to have like a balance with that though? Or should you always find joy in him running from you? Like, that's just an example.
I would say, no, that's something you could always find joy. Like, even for a moment. Like, even for a small moment.
Okay.
Oh, you don't think so?
I agree for the small moment. Like, 5 seconds.
5 seconds. Okay.
No, I get it. But again, if you practice the building brick joyfulness, that's just it's automatically gonna happen.
It's just automatic, yeah.
Yeah, even if you're in the rush, you're just gonna take that 30 seconds or even a minute to enjoy that little laughter or whatever it may be.
Exactly, and I can understand fresh cut grass and things like that because I mow the lawn all the time. The bunker is a giant lawn that has to be mowed constantly, so I understand that.
It takes forever.
Yeah, and so especially after doing it for like hours and hours and hours to finally just be able to step out and just be like, this is looking good. This smells good. And, that kind of thing. That's like, it's the joy of work. You know? And that's something. Actually, I heard a quote the other day. I just heard it, so we could have brought it into the last show. But if I recall it correctly, the quote was something like this. It said, "If you never have to work a day in your life. If you work for joy." Or something like that. It was just like, you never have to work another day in your life when you work towards joy or when you work for joy.
Because joy is
there's joy in your work. Yeah.
Okay.
When there's joy in your work, you never have to work a day in your life. That's it.
Yeah. That sounded good too.
So I feel like it came from, there was some famous company or something that had that as their motto, and that was how they promoted their workplace, was that like it wasn't work. They're
gonna love it so much.
It doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
So literally, if you have joy in your work, then you never have to work a day in your life. It's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's just probably easy, and it's probably easier to do it all. Just get up and go, and you just do it.
Yeah. It's just joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for joining us for part 2 of Joyfulness. Stay tuned for next week's building brick, which is hope.
Hope to see you there.
Thank you for listening to Enter the Bunker. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, where you can share your story and also look at behind the scenes of how we make our podcast. You can watch the video version of this podcast on YouTube by simply searching Enter the Bunker. Tune in next time as we launch into thriving.